The year is 2002. We have just seen a rough cut of the long-awaited sequel or prequel, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. And we are going to try to fix it. Cue the intro.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Mirror Movie Universe podcast. I'm Nate, one half of the hosting team of this shindig of a show, and across the aisle and across the country from me is my older brother, Dan. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, everybody. I'm the Plo Koon to your... Oh, I should have had
Choose
another
it. Pick a good one. Pick a good one.
Kit, what's the guy with the tentacles?
It's Kit Fisto.
Kit Fisto.
I'll accept Kit Fisto. He's cool. And he he's the only Jedi Master in old canon to have a relationship with another Jedi, and that's you can see all the Star Wars reference material behind me. He and Aayla Secura have a thing. It doesn't matter. We're talking about Attack of the Clones today. And in order to talk about what we like and what we would fix about Attack of the Clones, we got to talk about what happens in Attack of the Clones. So roughly here's the plot of the film. So we open on Coruscant, which is that big city planet that we had in Phantom Menace, and there's a ship from Naboo landing, and you can tell it's from Naboo because it's all beautiful, silvery and stuff. Yeah. And it lands on his landing platform, and the queen from the first movie. I almost said game. The queen from the first movie is stepping out on the platform, and the whole thing explodes. And it turns out that this is, in fact, not Padme Amidala, but another decoy. And Padme Amidala was one of like the other pilots or something. And it turns out that there's this plot to assassinate her. Whoa! And also, there's turmoil in the Senate because some planets are wanting to secede from the Republic and basically start a civil war. These separatists do. So there's political intrigue going on. The Jedi, who are basically the police, I guess, are assigning a couple of their own members to protect Padme Amidala. And the people that they choose are Obi-Wan Kenobi, very smart choice, very wise Jedi Master, like trained by Qui-Gon Jinn, awesome dude. And Anakin Skywalker, who had a crush on her when he was 9 years old and hasn't seen her in 10 years. This is going to go great. Anyway, so they are hanging out in her apartment. There's another attempt to assassinate her. There's a robot that puts some like poison worms through a window or something like that. Obi-Wan jumps out of a window after it. They track it to another bounty hunter who gets killed by another bounty hunter who rocket packs away, blah, blah, blah. And Obi-Wan is going to go on a clue finding mission to find out who the hell that is. Anakin and Padme are sent to her homeworld of Naboo, where they'll be safer and in very nice date country. They'll go on picnics by waterfalls and all of this kind of stuff. And in a considerable portion of the palace that's really just Verona, Italy. Now, the middle act of the movie doesn't do much more than evolve these two threads. You've got Obi-Wan tracking down this bounty hunter dude, and Anakin and Padme progressively getting hornier. Obi-Wan is able to track this thing to a water planet called Camino. He meets a bounty hunter called Jango Fett, who apparently is the father of Boba Fett, who has been cloned to create an army for the Jedi, I guess, because some old Jedi Master ordered it like 10 years ago, and it's finally ready. And there are hundreds of thousands of units of these clone soldiers that look an awful lot like stormtroopers from the original trilogy. Uh-huh. That's the thing you notice when you're a kid. But he's like, oh, I guess we have a huge army now, and the separatists are doing bad things. All right. He keeps tracking this bounty hunter after he leaves Camino, and the bounty hunter's going to the separatists on this desert planet called Geonosis, and he gets captured, sends a distress signal to Anakin and Padme, who have since hopped to Tatooine to find Anakin's dead mother, and Anakin gets really upset, slaughters a bunch of men, women, and children in a Tusken Raider camp, and that's what seals the deal, and Padme falls in love with him. And they get this distress call from Obi-Wan. They go to try to rescue him. They get captured, and suddenly they're chained to the three of them are chained to these columns in this big arena. And it looks like they're going to be executed by the big bad of the film, Count Dooku, who's played by Christopher Lee, and he is a former Jedi who is the leader of the Separatists, and he's very upset. He's spaghetti that they're meddling in the separatist affairs. But suddenly, Mace frickin' Windu shows up and ignites a purple lightsaber, which we've never seen before, and it's very cool. He brings like 75 Jedi with him. And it's like the most we've ever seen on screen before 2002, and it's very cool. And they start taking care of business. They slowly get pounded back by a big droid army, though, because the Trade Federation from the first movie is allied with these separatist guys, and they've got all their droids. And we get down to like 15 Jedi left, among which are the people we mentioned in the intro, Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, and Ayla Secura. Anyway, so just as they are about to get got by these droids, Yoda shows up with a bunch of clones and stuff because he stopped by the clone planet and picked up their little DoorDash order of an army. And he showed up at Geonosis, and there's this big battle. They try to catch Count Dooku. Count Dooku cuts Anakin's arm off and wounds Obi-Wan pretty badly. Yoda shows up and fights him with a lightsaber, and to a kid, that's very cool. The film ends with Chancellor Palpatine, who we know is a Sith Lord, and Count Dooku's master, being granted, powers to use this army in, either you die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain, blah, blah, blah. He gains the powers to use this army as the Chancellor and basically becomes the ruler of the galaxy indefinitely. Anakin and Padme get married, and it's very sweet. And that's how Attack of the Clones ends. This is my least favorite Star Wars film.
Blasphemy, good sir.
I still had fun describing because like a lot of cool stuff happens. It was like my favorite one when I was a kid, but like it's got some problems, right? So like, Dan, what do you like about Attack of the Clones? Redeem it for me a little.
Let's first of all, Attack of the Clones is my favorite of the prequels.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes.
Okay.
Hands down, my favorite of the prequels. It is everything. So first off, let's just say it does everything differently, which I very much appreciate, right? So instead of having every Star Wars movie that we've had up until this point basically follows the same thing. They're in one location, then they're in another location, then there's a big battle at the end in space, and there's multiple things going on. There's one thing, there's two things, there's three things, there's four things. I'm so glad that George Lucas didn't try to shove 5 different endings into this movie. I'm so glad that it's different and that there is this intrigue and things. I love it. Gives me everything that I wanted to see from the Phantom Menace. Oh, suddenly there are all these Jedi around. Do we get to see them do anything cool? Yes, in this movie. You said it. You get to see this massive battle where all of them are fighting. Oh, Yoda's in the Phantom Menace. Do we get to see him do anything cool? No, but here you get to see him do a lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
I love everything that they do here. It's perfect fan service to see the Jedi being amazingly awesome, which we didn't really get before, and here we get in spades, and I love that about it so much. And it shows like Plo Koon and Kit Fisto and stuff. Like we love these characters who are just on screen being Jedi. Like they don't say anything.
No, like
so great.
I can name every single Jedi in that arena, and there are people who are on screen for like 3 seconds, and you still, because you've been hyped up for a decade and a half as a kid, because you see this. I was 6. You were like, in your mid-teens or something like that. You've been hyped up like, oh, the old Jedi Order was very cool, and Obi-Wan talks about it in the original trilogy, but you don't see it until here. You don't see it till Attack of the Clones. So I'll give you that. I also love the chase through the asteroid field with Obi-Wan and Jango Fett, and we don't talk a lot about like sound editing, but I love the sound editing there with the mines that Jango Fett is leaving, and that whole explosion thing. The sound editing is actually great. Like the sound effects in Star Wars are amazing, and I love that they took such great care to go back to the original trilogy and recreate as many of the same sounds as they could for this one. The different lightsabers and the engine and everything else that they do. It's absolutely fantastic that they were able to do that. Hats off to the sound effects guys for that. Ben Burt is his name, the
Ben
main sound
Burt.
designer. He
Well
he
done, Ben
he
Burt.
did the original trilogy too. He did Indiana Jones, so like the whip and all the guns in Indiana Jones are also him. And he's done a number of other things that you'll recognize too, like Wally. Like he's in charge of all of the robot voices for that movie, which are all very distinct and very and full of character.
Mm-hmm.
And so like yeah, it's like it is in fact a masterclass for sound design. Yeah.
Yes, I know that some people have some problems with it, and I'm sure that we'll get into it, but I really do love it. Like for me, this is the most fun of the prequels to sit down and rewatch and to just have fun with and to get swept away in, and I very much love that. I also love um Natalie Portman as Padme or Amidala or whatever. She's amazing in this. She does a really great job of being that romantic kind of love interest for Hayden Christensen, and she absolutely kicks butt in the arena. Like, well done to her. So, yeah, love this movie a lot more than other people, apparently.
Yeah. All right. So I'll say something about I agree with everything except for that last bit.
Okay.
So Natalie Portman is a great actress. I have not disliked anything she's been in, but her character in Attack of the Clones has a lot less agency than she does in Phantom Menace. And I think I mentioned this in our Phantom Menace review.
Mhm.
Like she is like 80% of her reason for being in this movie, like in the script, is to be wooed by Anakin. And then in Revenge of the Sith, it gets even worse and her agency is reduced even more.
Yeah.
Yes, she kicks butt in the arena, but I would have wanted to see more of that, as cool as that is. But yeah, I am mostly aligned with your likes though.
Oh,
Mostly
good.
aligned. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you like that I didn't cover?
Two more things. One,
Okay.
so Obi-Wan is freaking great in this movie. His role seems a little bit like he's just playing Clue for the Jedi Council. I stole that from somebody. Thank you. But the wisdom that he projects is very much like taking from Liam Neeson's performance as Qui-Gon Jinn and giving it a little bit more like mustache twirling, like like swashbuckling kind of stuff going on. And Ewan McGregor, I think, is at his best in Attack of the Clones.
Mm.
And he's like suave and he's wise and he is great in like a scrape and a fight because he goes after Jango Fett and all of that kind of stuff. He's sarcastic, like he's like, "What are you doing here?" And Anakin's like, "We were rescuing you." And he looks up at the chains over his hands and he's like, "Good job." And that like it's just wonderful. That's good Obi-Wan right there. But mostly, like the only other thing that you haven't mentioned is this movie is the first one for me where I watched like the behind the scenes second disc special features like through and through.
Yeah.
And this about me, Dan. I love the art of filmmaking. I love film as an art form.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first time I like understood that there was a making process and people had jobs and someone there was someone whose job it was to make the aliens in like little clay sculptures and then put them into a computer and then animate them and all this kind of stuff. It wasn't just like a thing on a screen. It was like, this was made by artists.
Yeah.
And I got that. And Attack of the Clones, great at that. I also think that it has the best behind the scenes story in all of Star Wars, because the reason that Mace Windu has that awesome purple lightsaber is because Sam Jackson just wanted it. He's like, I want purple. And George Lucas is like, oh, well, you can have purple if you want. And he's like, I want purple. He got it, which is great. But yeah, out of the likes of Attack of the Clones, that's what I pick. All right, Dan, if you don't disagree with any of my likes, what's your fix? What's your fix?
Okay, my fix. So, I think that you only have a couple of movies to make Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader. Yeah. And I very much feel like time is kind of running out in this movie. So my fix here, we do get to see him slaughter the Sand People. but he also has that moment where he kind of turns back from it. And you mentioned it when he's talking to Padme, right?
Mm.
And he, for lack of a better word, confesses to her what he has done
Yeah.
and receives a sort of forgiveness there. I think, and I get where George Lucas is trying to do here. In the first one, he set up like he's a kid. Okay, that's fine to think about Darth Vader as a kid. Here, he's starting down the path, but he's turning back.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he goes far enough down the path because it's very sympathetic. Like you see his mother die, you see her brutally like tortured and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's very understandable. You're like, okay, I understand where he's coming from there. I think that he needs to go a little bit further down the dark path.
You want him to be more evil than slaughtering an entire village.
Not quite, not quite. I think
Okay.
that the action that he does is fine, but I think when he is telling Padme about it, he gets away with it kind of,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing about having her be the one that he's telling, not Obi-Wan, not another Jedi, not someone from the council, but someone that he loves, right? As
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift would say.
Oh
That's the
God.
thing about illicit affairs and clandestine meetings and longing stares. Anyway,
Did
so
you did you structure this entire fix around that Taylor Swift line?
I really did.
Okay. Wonderful.
Really did.
Continue.
It's a great line. So he's anyway, when he confesses to her, she offers him like her forgiveness for that, and he kind of turns back.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to do though is keep that kind of hidden and in the dark. Because when the bad things we do are hidden, when they remain in the dark, it's when they fester, it's when they get
Mm-hmm.
worse. And so I want him to have that confession scene because Hayden Christensen does a great job.
Mm-hmm.
But then I want him to wave his hand.
Oh,
The
you can't
Jedi
have
hand
him.
wave.
You can't have him mind trick Padme.
Yes. Yes.
No.
He's gonna be Darth Vader. He can 100% mind trick the woman that he loves and go like we never talked about this.
That's so awful.
Yes,
That's
he's
so
going to
awful.
be Darth Vader.
I thought you were just gonna have him freaking lie to her. Oh, did you find your mom? No, I didn't. Let's go. Like lie about it, but not. That's bad. I don't like that. Um,
He's he's going to be Darth Vader. And
I
it
know.
sets up that he has like he feels some remorse about it. He can still turn back, he can still find redemption, which he eventually does, but it sets him further up on the dark path if he mind wipes it. He gets it off his chest, but he deals with no consequences of it with his little Jedi mind wave.
I would be fine if he did that to like Owen Lars or something, like
Uh-huh.
or like somebody else. But like we have this whole thing on like people who are weak minded can be mind tricked, and we know that Padme isn't, and so he would have to be very like deliberate about it. And I don't like. Okay, it punches me in the face, which is probably what the fix is meant to do,
Yes.
but I don't like it. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah.
He's
Um,
going to be Darth Vader. He should be like so evil. You've only got one more movie after this.
yeah.
Like,
And he only really gets evil in like the second half of that movie. So
yeah.
yeah. No, I agree with the premise, but not the actual.
I
I
get
don't
what
like
you're
the actual
saying.
fix.
When I
Yeah.
originally thought of this, I thought, oh, I'll just cut it because that's the easiest thing to do
Yeah.
is just cut that piece of it and then, have him not tell her, which
Yeah.
it does the same thing. It like has it fester inside of him and stuff, but
Yeah.
I thought that's too subtle. I
Yeah.
wanted something more blatant and in your face. So that's why I went with the hand wave.
That's you're certainly entitled to your opinion. Um I yeah.
All right.
I wouldn't give in a movie where one of my main issues is that Padme doesn't have much agency. I wouldn't give her less. That's all I'm
Oh
saying.
man.
But you're entitled to your wrong opinion.
All right, Nate. What is your fix for this movie?
So much. This is my least favorite Star Wars movie. There's so much you can fix about it. You could give Padme more agency. You could cut out like all of the dialogue that Anakin says in any of the love scenes because George Lucas can't write that for crap. I don't like sand. It's not like you. You're really soft. Like, come on, man. I know he's a horny
Hey, it
19-year-old,
worked.
but like, yeah. Did you know? And it wasn't the same line, but there was another one. I used one of those when I was like 16. Did not work. Cannot recommend.
Oh,
It's bad dialogue, and everyone should recognize that. But I can't fix all of that. It's a huge
right.
portion of the movie. Then I thought about going down the rabbit hole that I usually pontificate down, is that Darth Maul shouldn't have died in Phantom Menace, make him the villain in this. But Count Dooku's all over the place, and I like Christopher Lee, so I can't do that. Yeah. But there is a villain, kind of, who only shows up in a little bit of the movie that you could tweak a bit.
Okay.
I don't like that Boba Fett exists in this movie.
Oh, like, interesting.
If you bring in someone named Jango Fett, and he's got the same armor, right? You know that he's Boba Fett's ancestor or father or something like that. You don't have to have Boba Fett be the kid who's like, get him, Dad, get him, fire, all that kind of stuff. But you can kind of lay some breadcrumbs to make it intriguing and keep the mystery of Boba Fett alive, because Boba Fett is a mystery in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So what you do, and the Star Wars Holiday Special, don't forget that. So what you do is you imply that Boba Fett might exist or something, but you don't show him. Unfortunately, that means you cut the kid who plays him. I don't remember his name. He did a great job. Not his fault. I just think it's a misstep in the writing to include the character. So you imply that he exists. There's a little bit of conspiracy about maybe there's an insert shot where there's like a clone missing out of like the batch, or like a clone DNA sample or something missing out of the batch, or the Kaminoan cloning people are talking about it, and they're like, there is one that is missing. And you make it somewhat obvious. You do an insert shot with a hand grabbing something or whatever. You make it somewhat obvious that Jango swiped something to raise a son. Then when he's killed, it somewhat becomes obvious that this child will be raised by the evil separatists like Count Dooku or all of these guys. And then Boba Fett becomes the even worse version of his father than he was previously.
Okay.
It's not like a large structural change to the film. It doesn't fix anything that I really dislike about the movie. But if you got a little fix, keep the mystery of Boba Fett alive, man. Just I want to imagine that that's some kind of like cold-hearted killer back there. Not. I don't want to know what he was like when he was 7. There's some interesting stuff that they do with the existing Boba Fett. They have like a revenge arc for him later on that kind of fizzles a little bit. I actually have his entire book series back here somewhere. See the Boba Fett book. But I still think that I'd just rather have mystery than this. So that's what I do. That's what I do.
I think the one shot that stands out to me the most is after the arena has kind of cleared, because he's fighting Mace Windu in the arena and gets his head cut off. There's this shot of the kid of Boba Fett holding the helmet in his hands, looking on. And I think in the language of film, that kind of implies a hatred for the Jedi. Like he's out to seek revenge against the Jedi. He's gonna go after them or something. And we don't see that ever. Like he just becomes a bounty hunter. Like his dad was a bounty hunter.
In the cartoon shows, and I know you don't watch those, but in the cartoon shows, he does seek revenge specifically against Mace Windu.
Okay.
But
remind them.
Yeah, that's cool. But it's just in the context of this movie and the effectiveness of this film in the vacuum. It's 2002. We're time traveling movie producers. All that stuff doesn't exist yet.
That's right.
This is what I would do.
Yeah,
that's my fix.
I think it's decent. And if you can't cut the kid entirely, like you can have him be kind of there, but without all of the like get him dad and watching the fight. Like why would you put your kid in the arena? Yeah, like that's crazy.
Yeah, or write him like a crazy psychopath kid. Like get him dad. Let's use the sonic mines or whatever. And he's like, those were banned by the Accords of whatever. He's like, who cares, Dad? Let's kill him. And that would play it for comedy, play it for whatever you want. It's just the way that it exists right now. dulls some sharpness in character later.
Yeah.
That's all.
Great impression, by the way.
Of
Wow.
Tamara Morrison.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well
I have been working on a number of Star Wars characters. You don't want to hear my Jar Jar Binks, but
no, I
yes,
don't.
I can do Tamara Morrison halfway decently.
That's
Um,
really good.
thanks.
Yeah.
Um, you don't want to hear my Jar Jar.
I kind of
Anyway,
do now, but
no,
ugh.
no, not on air. Not on air. Okay. But yeah, that's both of our fixes. Unless we have anything else profound to say about Attack of the Clones, I think that buttons the episode up.
That's really good. Yeah, so let us know which one you like. Do you think that Boba Fett should have more of a backstory? Do you agree that my little hand wave thing is it also terrible and I'm super wrong? I'm sure I am. You're Star Wars fans, right? So that's okay. Argue in the comments and like and subscribe because we're going to be doing episode 3 next. You don't want to miss that. Or maybe you do. I don't know. In any event, we hope that this finds you well. Have a good one, everybody.
See ya.